I want to do an experiment. Okay, this is my world now. This is my country. Well, half of you are going to be my country. This is the country of Keltonia. I am the government. I have the taxing authority. I also have a standing army, courts, prisons, and so forth. Half of you are my domestic private sector. You're the households and the businesses in the nation of Keltonia. You're all subject to a tax in this great country. And so, let's say 200 Keltonis. You have to pay me 200 Keltonis this year. Okay? What does that mean? If we record this on balance sheets, it means now you're in debt to me, right? I have an accounts receivable, I have taxes due, you have a debt. And I just reduced your net worth. Now, let's settle the obligation. Go ahead and pay your taxes.
Sorry, don't have any Keltoni.
You can't! What do you mean you can't? You can't because I haven't spent any Keltonis into existence yet. The money to pay taxes comes from government spending. I'll hire some of you, you'll build roadways for me, and I'll pay you Keltonis. Then you can pay your taxes. Okay? I'm going to pay 500. Now you're going to pay your taxes. See, I credited your account. I gave you the 500, but now let's settle up. Taxes are paid. What are your net financial assets? 300 Keltonis. This is a simple, fundamental accounting truth. This is not gimmickry. This is not a theory. This is a matter of accounting. It is a fact. Okay? When the government spends more than it takes back in taxes, you end up with the difference. You, the non-government, right? It went somewhere. You got it, right? My deficit is your surplus, or my red ink is your black ink. Why don't you buy some imports? This is the foreign sector. You might decide to spend part of your income buying goods and services produced abroad. You can do that. You can import from them as long as they want Keltonis, which they'll want as long as you produce something of value in your country that they'll want to exchange Keltonis for later, right? So let's say you spend 200 buying great things from the foreign lands. Go ahead. So now where are we? Who's holding Keltonis? We have three sectors: the government sector, the domestic private sector, and the foreign sector, the rest of the world. Where are they? You've got 100, you've got 200, and I'm the source of all that. I have the minus 300. My deficit is the non-government surplus, right? The world as a whole is a closed system. Every financial payment comes from somewhere and it goes somewhere. There are flows and there are stocks. Payments accumulate. They pool up. If we stop the clock at any point in time, we can figure out where they are, right? The US is a net importer. We buy more goods and services from the rest of the world than they buy from us. This results in a trade deficit in the US and a surplus in other countries. This can cause domestic unemployment for you folks, and it can cause the domestic private sector to lose net financial assets. You saw that some of theirs went over there. Unless the government compensates with a deficit, unless it compensates by cutting your taxes or increasing its own spending to replenish whatever might be leaking out to the foreign sector, right? Okay, so as long as the US has trade deficits, we have to have government deficits, or you folks are going to be in negative territory, okay? All right, China is not our banker. I think Warren already dealt with this really effectively. I'm going to try to move quickly through this. China ends up holding US dollars because they're net exporters to the US. We buy more from them than they buy from us. We pay them, they have the dollars. And rather than holding those dollars in a checking account at the Fed, China prefers to convert lots of those dollars into bonds. That's part of what we in daily language refer to as the national debt. China buys treasury bonds, right? Treasury bonds are functionally savings accounts at the Fed. I could choose to sell you some bonds as well. You can buy these. They pay interest. What you're holding doesn't. Would you like this? Sure. Sure. She's no dummy. This is my checking account. It gives me nothing. Give me interest. There we go. Okay. Now she has the bonds. I issued some debt, but this in no way burdens me. And it in no way burdens you or your grandchildren either. Okay?